Hi everyone, it's Louise Pearson back again with another video, and I'm continuing on from my last theme, which was about grief, and speaking to you as a person with lived experience of having a life-limiting illness, and with also having experience as a grief counsellor and a social worker, wanting to make some points about the styles that we have for grieving, because they can be something that I think is well worth considering. So this topic of how we grieve is again something which has lots of information about it out there for people who are dealing with bereavement or grief after death, but not as much for those of us who have a life-limiting illness. And I guess I want to redress that balance a little bit. Everyone expresses their grief differently. I think that's so true. And in our society, there are lots of ideas circulating about how and when we should grieve, how long we should take on a particular topic. You know, you get diagnosed with cancer. How long is it until you can talk about other things? For how long do you play the cancer card? I've had people say to me. And I think it's a really interesting question because, you know, it's an important figural part of our life, but that changes as we move around in what we're doing with life. So yes, there are lots of rules out there about how we should to do things, and there are lots of responses from people. Some people will talk about events with you like your diagnosis, or you will feel like talking about them. And other people don't want to have anything to say about it. You know, you might seek out lots of information and find out what you can, have lots of questions. Others around you don't seem to want to know, and maybe at times you won't want to know. Depending on where we are in the process ourselves, we can feel a bit hurt or confronted by the reactions of those around us. And I think that understanding grieving styles can help at these times. So what do I mean by grieving styles? Well, they are an idea proposed by thanatologist Kenneth Dokar and his colleague Terry Martin to explain the way that people grieve. And they suggest that we all sit on a bit of a continuum between intuitive and instrumental grieving. They're the words that they use. So intuitive grievers are deeply into their emotions when they hear news, when something changes with a life-limiting illness, when, there's tests coming up or particular things that they're worrying about, and things are changing in the process of having the illness. They will express a lot of emotions. They talk about their feelings. They might want to scream out their pain and write about it in journals, talk about it all the time. They're great in support groups because they've got lots to contribute and lots of emotions to sort of process. And women are more likely to be intuitive grievers, although, of course, it's a continuum that we're talking about here. So, there's some movement around that continuum, and some women will be instrumental and some men will be intuitive. It happens. Instrumental grieving is where people seem to have a bit more of a physical response rather than an emotional response. So when they get the news about a diagnosis, they might talk about feeling like they've been punched in the gut or knocked off their feet. They will talk about the diagnosis, they might answer questions, but they're not necessarily so into talking about the feelings. They will often get into the doing more quickly than people who are intuitive grievers. So again, it might be seeking out that information, problem solving for the future, getting everything into order. And I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video. But, they're trying to perhaps leave their mark on things, help other people, I guess, the doers as they grieve, where the intuitive grievers are more focused on their feelings and just processing all of that. Instrumental grievers are trying to sort of get things done and very, very moving oriented. And myself, I'm an instrumental griever. I'm making these videos. I noticed a gap. I don't think there's enough out there to support people. And so I'm trying to use my expertise and my experience to make something which is in some way helpful to people who have experienced what I've experienced. Um, so, as I've said, men and women do have their particular style, the intuitive and the instrumental, but it's not set in stone. And there's no definite answer. So consider, can you relate to these styles? Because knowing how you can grieve can help you to understand why you're reacting in particular ways. And having an idea of the grieving styles of those around you can give you a framework for understanding what they can offer you. So, it might be that you want to talk to that particular person, you want to talk about your emotions and process them with them, and they're not going to be as able to do that as you want them to be, because their grieving style might be different to yours. Or conversely, they might be racing after you, trying to get you to talk about your emotions, and you don't want to do it. Remember that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. It's just your way of grieving. So if you found this helpful, this video, subscribe to my channel or press like. Have a look at my website, which is www.louisepearson.com.au. And I'll be back to produce more of these videos about life with life-limiting illness from the inside and from the front line.